Alive.
Awesome. Well, I guess then we call this meeting into order. Doing a little technical thing here. Perfect. Can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Warden Townend and Councillor Davison. All those in favor? That carries. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. I'm seeing none. And so let's move on to, oh, I forgot to do adoption of the minutes.
Adoption of the minutes.
Sorry, Beth. All right, Clark. Fritsch, or sorry, Councillor Fritsch, is already moving this. Wow, you guys are just selling today. Anyone else who would like to second this? The adoption of the minutes. Davison, Councillor Davison, thank you so much. All those in favor? That carries. Even though we lost Councillor Nyman. No, there he is. Great. He's back. So let's move on right into it today. Matters for consideration. We're going to go into number 1, HPP investment plan. Scott Robertson, you're up, and we look forward to talking to you a little bit about this one.
All right, thank you very much, Councilor Brandenhurst. So I'm in chair through you to the rest of the committee. This is an attempt to get ahead of the game. So every year we get homelessness prevention program funding. We have a letter saying that we're going to get it for 3 years. This is the third of 3 years. And we usually wait until we have access to the funding and then bring this plan in front of you. But we usually get access to the funding in early May. And then we'd have to wait until June to bring the plan to you. And then we can start moving forward with it. Well, we already have some idea about what we want to do, some great ideas about what we want to do with this funding. So I'm just bringing the typical investment plan that you would see in your June meeting to this meeting to get this approved so that once we get access to the funding, we can move forward. And if you recall last year, there was a delay in this funding. So I don't think it was until like September that we approved this plan, and just approving it now allows us to move forward sooner and get funding out and help the people we're trying to help.
Great. I'm going to move on to questions from the committee. Questions, anyone? Nope. I'll take it away. Scott, I was just curious, great report. Where's the Edward-Lennox and Addington breakdown?
Oh, that isn't in this.
I didn't see it.
No, it's not in this. This is just sort of saying where we'll dedicate the funding. And so like something like community outreach and support services, we have ideas about what we'd like to fund. Like we'd like to continue to fund Leeward House and things like that. But those require applications from community organizations. So we wouldn't know that. We also wouldn't know where we're going to dedicate the housing assistance, the homelessness prevention benefit. That's based on need. So that's an area where we really don't look at the apportionment between the two counties. It's just whoever comes in with the need, they get the funding. And sometimes that's ahead of that 36%, and sometimes it's behind. Yeah, but I know once we allocate the funding, then I can bring a report to you about that. This is just allocating it in these 5 categories.
And I'm just curious that when you brought up something that just sparked a question on my mind, which is what are some of the regulations, or not regulations, the parameters for picking or for setting up like who gets some of this funding and who's on the I'd also be curious to see on the parameters of the by name list and what people need to reach to meet that threshold.
Sure. There's a bunch of guidelines for the homelessness prevention program funding, but basically it's for people, it's to help manage people who are unhoused and help prevent people who are precariously housed from becoming homeless. So that's a pretty broad category. But over the years, we've developed some relationships that we found are really impactful and really valuable, like Leeward House. Like we have a relationship with with Napanee, an area community health center, and they have a staff person that goes out and deals with people directly in encampments and in our transitional housing. So that's a really valuable position that we see. So there's some positions where we really hope to continue to fund those efforts and that different community agencies are doing for sure.
Yeah, I guess maybe I didn't word my question right. What specifically I would just personally like to see is and maybe this is for my own curiosity and other members of the committee don't need this forwarded to them also, but are the specific of like what an individual might fill out to get onto the by name list. Like what is that process for those individuals and what is it and also some of the other funding streams. I know this was one conversation I had with one of the community groups, and this is more like my own personal project rather than like a make work project for you, Scott, which is how do we, I know you have your own parameters that you have to hit thus to maximize and also maximize the funding that you get from the province and other and what that funding entails to keep receiving and to meet those qualifications. But I was just kind of my own curiosity on how can we make this a better system for people in general. And like I said, this is more of my own personal curiosity for long-term thinking rather than a make work project for you. So if that's possible that I could see some of those, like what the agencies have to fill out and what individuals have to fill out, I'd be curious just to see it. And if anybody else on the committee wants it, then feel free.
Sure. Chair Brandahurst, to you and to the rest of the committee, to get on the by name list, person has to be unhoused for at least 2 weeks. And they also have to agree that they want to get better. Some people just want help to continue to remain unhoused. And the by name list isn't for them. We still help we still help those people. It's estimated the by name list that is probably in reality about 3 to 4 times that number of people who are unhoused. And when you think of unhoused, just, there could be a high school student who got in an argument with their parents and is living at a friend's, has been there for 3 or 4 months. Northern, more rural areas in the Pellis area, people are living at their uncle's hunting camp, and that's how they're surviving homelessness, or a broken down trailer at the back of the farm. So they may not necessarily be on our by name list, but if they need assistance, we're helping them. And they have to agree to have their information shared. So if we're dealing with other community agencies, that's the whole idea behind the by name list, is somebody can say, what about Scott Robertson, and a few other agencies that are dealing with that person can say, oh, here's what I'm doing, and they can better case plan collectively. So that's how you get on the by name list. And then as far as the direction of this funding, this would be the 3rd round of this funding that I've been part of. And I've just seen, since I've been here, just sort of like a sharpening of the direction that we take this funding, and some of the community supports we've been able to nurture, I guess, with this funding have been really effective. So those are the ones that we would like to continue to pursue. Did that answer? If you'd like, I could send you some by name list forms that we would fill out, and that might further inform you about what we're looking for.
Yes, that's also just a personal curiosity.
Yeah.
Pam, I see you jumped on, and then Councillor Nyman, I saw your hand. I promise it's your turn next.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add, during the last meeting, you had raised some questions, as did other councillors, along the similar vein of wanting to understand some of the guidelines and application process. So not to give away Liam's report, but there is a report later on that might help to answer some of the questions that you currently have. So I just wanted to highlight that. Hopefully you will get a sense of what we're hoping to do for you.
Perfect. I'll sit in the wings. Thanks, Pam. Councillor Nyman.
Thank you, Sam. So I just kind of have a couple questions. So the emergency shelter fund of 300,000, it's got down there any available balance will be for warming centers. So I guess the only warming center that there is the one in Napanee. Is that correct?
Yes, Councilor Nyman, through you to the rest of the committee, yes, that's correct. That was the only one that we funded last year. And but
Okay,
if an effort came forward from Prince Edward County, we would definitely entertain that.
Oh, okay, so I guess and I know the Hope Center, and we have gave them money before from Pellis. I forget, around 100,000, I think, or a little more maybe.
Yeah, 119.
119. So, and I know that they're still trying to have that a warming center or kind of a shelter kind of a thing. So I'm just wondering, why are we not trying to give them some money to help the residents of Prince Edward County? And I understand that they're centered in Picton, and the county is, you know, a big area, but if they're trying to get that there for the winter as a warming center, somebody drop in, why can we not try and provide a little bit of funding to them?
Yes, Councilor Nyman, I talked to David Inch from the Hope Center last year about this, and when we did the funded the warming center there, I guess it was a winter ago. The use wasn't as high as we thought it might be, so it ended up being quite costly on a per person helped occasion. We also had Leeward House start up, which I know Leeward House has a waiting list, so it's not like if somebody is unhoused today, then they can be housed later today at Leeward House, but that seemed to be taking care of a part of the population of unhoused people. But if another, I'd be more than happy to talk to somebody, including David, about figuring out how to fund a warming center in Picton next year. And sorry, I say Picton instead of Prince Edward County because Picton is where the unhoused people are in Prince Edward County.
Yeah, and you know, I guess thanks for that, but I guess, you know, I'm not saying we give, you know, $100,000, but I'm saying, you know, is there a bit of funding that we can give to the Hope Center or any place really that I know the numbers aren't high, but if one or two people can get in out of the cold when it's really cold on those nights, just to get a little bit of reprieve, the money is well spent. So I guess that's kind of the point I'm trying to make there. So I have a question. The housing assistance, I guess I just need to understand that a bit, and then I'll let you know why I'm asking the question. So the housing assistance, that money is there if somebody needs they've ran into a problem where they need a bit of money or a bit of assistance to try and help them get through this period of time that they've fallen on hard times. Is that right?
That's correct. So it goes to things like if somebody gets behind on their rent or behind on their utility bill of any sort, like their electricity, and it's about to be cut off, then we can help them with that. Another piece that this is used for is we have been solving homelessness, and sometimes we use this to pay for first and last month's rent. Let's say somebody can find something that they can afford. Maybe it's a room for $600 and the landlord needs first and last month's rent. Well, we can provide that to secure that room for them. And we found that to be a successful way. And they kind of need that one-time boost, and then they can afford their rent after that.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought, but what's happened here with the ice storm? Somebody had somebody had a tree come down and took out their hydro, and they were having a bit of an issue. So, and they didn't know where to turn, but it finally came that if they came to social services, there was funding there to help them because they were going to be without hydro for a week or whatever. So I guess is that where that money came to help them? They received assistance. Is that where this money came from? Is from the housing assistance?
Yes, Councilor Nyman and the rest of the committee. I don't know the details of this specific case, but my strong guess would be yes, that's where this money came from. A lot of the people that are helped by the homelessness prevention benefits aren't on Ontario Works. Sometimes they're on Ontario Disability Support Program, or a lot of them are working poor, where they were able to pay for everything, but then this one thing happened. Their car broke down and they need their car to get to work. So we sometimes pay for vehicle repairs, but usually they pay for the vehicle repairs than we're helping out with the rent type thing. But yeah, so a lot of those people, they're just one-time assistance. They ran into trouble, and we're able to help them out.
Can I just have one quick question?
Go for it.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, Scott. So I guess, and why I'm asking is because this family really didn't know where to turn, and they had made several phone calls, and finally they got the solution. But how do we get the public to know that this is there, I guess? Because they didn't know that this was something that they could use. They just thought that maybe it was just for the social assistance for people on Ontario Works and that. So I guess how do we get that education out there?
I think a lot of our community agencies know, but the issue is if the person doesn't have a connection with the community agency, how do they find out about it? And some of that's word of mouth, some of that's from other beneficiaries. Like if somebody at Tim Hortons had a problem, somehow made their way to us and we help them, then they may share that with other coworkers at Tim Hortons. So sometimes it's like that, but we don't advertise that we have that funding, but it's used a lot. So there's definitely an awareness in the community about it. But I don't know, but if you get constituents that don't know where to turn, I would recommend referring them to our office, because even if for whatever reason we're not able to help them, we can probably direct them to some other place where they can get help. If for whatever reason they aren't eligible for our programs.
Okay, thank you.
You good now? Councilor Nyman? Yep. Okay, great. I do have, if everybody's okay, can I just use first names now? Moving on.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. Tony, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Scott, I just have a question here on the program categories and sort of the ratio of the funding and how you determine it. Has there been much of a change from last year to this year on sort of the ratios and how you split the funds up between these 5 program categories?
Yes, Councillor Fritsch, to you and to the rest of the committee. Yes, there have been. Under housing assistance, the amount of funds we've been giving out through the homelessness prevention benefit have steadily increased. And part of the reason why that increased was we started providing first and last month's rent if a person could sustain that after that bump of help, and we weren't doing that before. So that's increased sort of some of the money that we've been giving out, but also we've just been helping more and more people. Maybe as a follow-up to Councillor Nyman's question, definitely word is getting out there that this funding is there and that it can help. And we get people coming in like a story I remember, I don't deliver this funding, but somebody who was delivering this funding, and it was the person had a $117 electricity bill that they couldn't pay. And we were able to help them with this. And they had no idea that anybody could help them with this. And it made a huge difference in their life. And just imagine how tight your money is if $117 is making you, creating tears of joy that you're getting that money. But it was just, it's some of the really simple stuff that we cover that help people be able to continue to live where they are. So that's probably the biggest increase would be in that section.
Thank you. Yes, and just a comment. When you talk about people struggling, I mean, I know a lot of people in the northern part here that live in some, and not that it doesn't happen in built up areas because it's there as well, but live in some pretty horrid conditions. Yeah, there are many people here just live in travel trailers. That's very common, and many are, how can I say it, quite happy. They're not looking for help. That's their way of life.
Very sustainable until, you know, the tree goes through the trailer, and then that's when we see them, and we hadn't seen them before. Even though they might have been eligible for our programs, they were, you know, cutting wood, doing odd jobs and sustaining. And then an event happens and then they need us.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. That was a great point, Tony. Thank you for bringing that forward. I am curious, Scott. I think we've talked about this before, but I am curious, under our community outreach and support services, would an organization like County Kids Reads count as community outreach and support services if they were to, like, is there a chance for them to apply for some of this money, even though the link isn't directly to homelessness? But I believe that boosting kids' literacy rates within municipalities is directly affecting an ability to break poverty circles. And so I'm curious on if that might be an avenue worth exploring.
Probably not, but you know, if they were helping children who were unhoused or precariously housed learn how to read, then it would qualify. That's might be a stretch because I can't imagine them saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're a low-income child who wants to participate in this program, but your housing's secure, so you can't be part of this group." I can't imagine them doing that. So I don't know how they would make it just specifically for that. And I don't know, I'd have to review the details of the funding categories to see if, you know, if they had a reading group made up of low-income children, so I don't know how they define that, but if they did, you could count on some might be precariously housed. And would that qualify? Probably not. But I'm sorry, that doesn't mean I'm not a huge supporter of the County Kids Reads. I've talked to them about those initiatives, but I don't think they would be, Councilor Branderhurst, but I can check the guidelines and get back to you on that.
I'd appreciate it, but I also understand that not everything fits every category, but sometimes you never hurts to ask because you don't get money if you don't ask. One last question I have, and then we'll move on if everybody else is good, is does your group currently work with the Children's Aid Society, specifically reaching out with individuals that might, so after specifically, I know when youth turn 18 and their funding source is cut off from the government for the child subsidy, I believe. I'm not as familiar, but there's a lot of youth that all of a sudden, if they don't have parents and support systems, they might be trying to do school, university, get better, but they don't have a means to be reached out to, or they don't know how to reach out to PELUS. Is there a communication stream already set up?
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's very common. If it's not CAS, it's another support agency like the Rock Center that would be making sure that that transition happens. And oftentimes they're setting up those appointments, like not right on the person's 16th or 18th birthday, but we're made aware of it before that happens, that there's a person that will be transitioning funding from CAS to Ontario Works. And that's sometimes a bit of a rough transition because usually it's less funding.
Yep, no, that's great to know. So can I have a mover and a seconder to take this? Or if we're, it's just to accept, I guess, so.
Move the
Don't-
recommendation.
Yep, thank you. Brad and anyone else? Tony? Okay. Oh, there is a recommendation, never mind. Thank you, Doug, I did see that. I do see that now. Brad, would you like to read it off, or do we have to, Beth?
You don't have to, as long as you're comfortable with passing.
Are we comfortable? Looks like it. Okay, all in favor? That carries. Okay, let's move on to number 2, which is transitional housing update. Still, Scott, you're here, and there's also a staff recommendation for that. Scott, would you like to take it away?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Chair Brandenhurst. To you and the rest of the committee. The first couple pages just kind of highlights some of the highlights in our transitional housing program. My favorite stat is in point number 9, where we have solved homelessness for 41 people. That's like 41 people that don't have to be unhoused. That's great. And where's my number here? Almost 42,000 nights since we started the program that people haven't been on the street, which is another fantastic stat. So I've always wanted to expand this program, but one of the big limiting factors was when people graduate, if you're receiving Ontario Works, you get $390 maximum for shelter. And if it's Ontario Disability Support Program, it's $582 a month, unless it says $583. It's something like that. And it's just not enough to be able to afford a place to live. So my apprehension about expansion was, where do the graduates go? Where do they get to graduate to? And we've got some funding through the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit that has really helped. It's like a rent supplement program. It's really helped those people move out. So one of the requests in this piece, in this report, is to increase our transitional housing by a net of 4 rooms over what we had in the summer. So I feel comfortable in adding those 4 rooms because I'm more comfortable that we can find the next place for the people to move.
Okay, that's great. Anybody have any questions from committee? Councillor Nyman or Brad?
Thanks, Sam. So, sorry, I'm just trying to get to the agenda here. Just for the in the report, it says that if somebody's going into transitional housing, so I'm going to use the Leeward House here in county. I thought it was a maximum stay of 1 year. Yeah, that when it first came out, that's what it was saying. But I see in here, in point number 5, it says it takes 1.5 to 2 years for that person to move out of the transitional housing. I'm just wondering, can you kind of clarify that?
Yes, certainly, Councillor Nyman. So this is the transitional housing program that Pellis operates, and Leeward House is operated by Prince Edward County. So they have a few different rules and a few different pieces with Leeward House that differ from what we operate. So we
Okay.
fund most of the operation at Leeward House, not all of it, but a lot of it. And but they kind of and Leeward House is staffed. Our transitional housing isn't staffed. We have staff going there and we have supports provided by us and by community agencies, but there's somebody, the people in our transitional housing have to cook their own meals at Leeward House. I actually don't know if the meals are cooked or if the meals are provided. Maybe they have to cook them, and I believe there's some group participation in that, in their efforts there. But we don't have staff on site like all the time.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Can I have one more question?
Oh,
Just wondering. So is there like, trying to find it here, but is there an opportunity that Pellus could set up under their program or under program in Prince Edward County, more transitional housing? I think in here it had we worked with landlords, I think, to set it up. Yeah, number one. So I'm just, do we have any of that in Prince Edward County? And if not, is there an opportunity to get that here?
yes, Councilor Nyman, we do have one house in Prince Edward County that it's a 4-bedroom house that's actually housing 8 people right now. It started out with a family that's now branched into 2 families. We have one there, and I think we had plans to, or thoughts about expanding the program when the Leeward House concept was developed. So we've just kind of let that happen. But if committee would be interested in expanding the transitional housing in Prince Edward County, I could come back to the next committee meeting with some sort of report about adding maybe one additional home or something like that, if that interests the committee.
So just so I understand then, Scott, you would need a motion to that effect though, right?
Yes, Councilor. I mean, it'd be similar to this, like where I'm asking for 4 additional rooms. If the committee wished, that we could pursue that, and I could see what we could find, and then come to the June committee meeting with a proposal. I act on the direction of committee, basically. So if you want me to do that, it's something I could pursue.
Yeah, no, and I would just say when the time comes, I'd make that motion. I don't know if Beth can write it up for me, or if you want to say it, Scott, I don't know, but I'll make a motion to that effect.
I don't think that we would need a motion today for Scott to bring the report to the next meeting, but certainly if you were going to move forward with any plans, then you would need a motion at that time.
Okay, so Scott's gonna bring a motion then in June, or not a motion, but a report then, is that?
Is that your plan, Scott?
If that's what, yeah, I think I'm being instructed to do that, and I'd be happy to do that. I'm a big fan of our transitional housing program because it's been so effective, and I've met some of the people that are in it. I've met some of the people that have graduated from the program. So it's just, it's great to see. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to bring a report to the next committee meeting about that.
Okay, then I won't make no motion at this time then.
Okay, any other questions from committee? Okay, I'll take the floor then. A couple questions, Scott. One is who sits on point 2 and point 3 of this report? Who sits on the homelessness working group? You said like it's different individuals and organizations. And is there one specifically for LNA and then also one for Picton, or do you share, or is it a combination of both?
Sure, Chair Brandon-Hurst. So the groups I noted in point 2 and point 3 are both happening in Lennox and Addington County in Napanee. There was a group in Prince Edward County that just kind of withered, I guess, and that's probably from our end. It was difficult to resource. There's definitely been interest in starting that group up again, and there's another group I'm working with in Prince Edward County that's, you may be familiar with, a group that's writing a letter to try to get CMHC to recognize Prince Edward County as a place in need of affordable housing. And I would think it would be a lot of the people that are part of that group that would meet to talk about homelessness, unhoused folks. So that's something that we could start up again. But right now, unfortunately, there's no regular meeting in Prince Edward County to address that. However, Prince Edward County does have their community safety and well-being plan with their housing and homelessness group. So I've been thinking at that group, we're getting some of the same feedback about what's needed, but it's not the same. So I could start that group up or not.
I think personally, that group would be a great addition, and if anything, for maybe a more formal connection to you for the community safety plan. I know there would be different groups really interested in being a part of that. If that we have a really great active youth organization. Right now that's not the Rock. Their name always escapes me, but I can email that along to you. Because that is problem solving futures for Prince Edward County on a youth perspective. I know alternatives for women would jump in there. Like, I think that this is exactly what we need right now to bring forward a lot of these groups that, like you said, are all trying to do the same thing. Like there's a lot of overlap, and I would love to see a more formal one specifically with Pellis organizing it to be a part of. And please let, I think, either well, any of the committee if they wanted to come to ours, but specifically the Mayor Ferguson and Brad and myself to be a part of that too, and to help promote it and talk about it and anything that we can do to help, because I think that will help with what Councillor Nunn was saying earlier, which was, how do we get more of this information out? How do we get people to know, to talk, to have these resources? And like you said, the most powerful is word of mouth. So if we're not having that in the county, I would urge any time that we could have that to make that happen. So yeah, that would be absolutely wonderful if that could. And
Yeah.
even having a homelessness and poverty reduction town halls right now. So it would be a great time to open it up.
Okay, great. Yes, I could work with Ellis Ziegler, who's actually, I believe, participating in this day. I could work with them about who best to invite and how to make sure that we aren't duplicating the same thing that the community safety and well-being plan is doing, and maybe even how that group could enhance the community safety and well-being plan activities and outcomes.
Yes, I would love to see that collaboration come forward. And I know, like you mentioned, Ellis is online, and I think you and them would be a great tag team powerhouse that I would love to see become a great force. So yeah, that's basically all I have on this. Not too much. So if anybody, can we have a mover and a seconder? There is the addition or the action added to it, the staff action. So if anybody would like to move or second this. Doug and Tony, yep. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Beth.
We should probably have an additional motion for the collaboration that you just talked about.
Yep. Am I allowed to move it as chair, or do I just let someone else?
I can. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. Anyone would like to second that? Nathan, thank you. So the amendment, so let's vote on the amendment first. All those in favor? So then the main motion as amended. All those in favor? Those both carry. Perfect. Thank you so much, group. And let's move on to number 3. Oh, sorry, Scott. We're all done with you for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're moving on to Ontario, or 2025 Ontario Work Service Plan and Case Load Analysis. Pam, I saw you jump on from, oh, there you are. You're here to talk, and you have a staff recommendation and also a request for direction. Take it
Yes,
away.
correct. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So before you is the service plan addendum that we had to submit to the ministry, as well as the 5-year caseload analysis. And as you can see, the service plan really is just highlighting all the great work that we do to help support individuals in our community. And then the analysis was to help us take a deeper dive into those who have been on assistance for 5 years or more, to see what those barriers and challenges are that might help us develop some local strategies to assist. But of course, many of them are beyond what the local office can do, because many of them are system issues. And one of the main ones is the social assistance rates, which have not increased in many years. So before you is a question, I guess, of whether this committee would wish to pass a resolution regarding the social assistance rates. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from committee right off the bat? Tony, and then Doug.
Thank you, Sam. Yep. Pam, and I read all the information here. It's just I'm more curious what an action plan looks like for an individual person. Just an example of it. What type of things would be in it?
So through you, Chair, really it's about what supports the individual may need to provide stability in their life. So it may be that they're looking to enhance certain skill sets to become more employable. It could be that they need mental health and addiction supports. It could be a variety of just different things that through conversation with their caseworker that they would require to help support them on their journey to sustainability and employment.
So that plan is jointly put together, is it?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doug?
Yeah, I was just gonna support the resolution. I think anytime we can do anything to encourage an increase in the rates for homeless or for the Ontario Works program would be a benefit.
Yep, I will make sure that your name is on there then.
Yeah.
Brad, I saw your hand.
Yeah, thanks. So just a question, I guess, would be because there was one, I believe, a motion already done from can't think where it was now, Western Ontario, and I believe that was already submitted. What's the feedback from the province on this? Are they on board with increasing, or I guess what's the province saying?
So through you, Madam Chair, and Lynn, I don't know if you have extra to add from your meetings, but at this point in time, I do not believe the province has an appetite to increase rates at this time. But Lynn, if you have more to add.
I don't actually. All the meetings that I attend at the director level, that's the same message that we've been receiving, is that there's no interest in increasing the social assistance rates for Ontario Works.
So I can have a quick follow-up. Yep. So I guess is other service providers making the same motion? Like if only one or two are going to do it, you're probably not going to get much traction. So how do we is other municipalities or other service providers doing the same thing?
I can respond to that one. Yeah, so I know Huron County, or one of the municipalities within Huron County, has submitted. I believe there's been one from Peterborough. There's been a whole campaign through Raise the Roof that has gone out to multiple municipalities, and multiple municipalities are supporting around social assistance rate increases. So I think it's just about getting the word up there, showing that there is an appetite, or could there be an appetite to increase those social assistance rates. So I think every little bit helps.
Okay, I support it. I just wanted to find out what the temperature was out there. That's all.
Yes, sorry. you got me on a tangent of Googling, and yeah, we actually already supported resolution in February 14th, 2024. Councilor Roberts put forward a motion in Prince Edward County that was to the motion read of the summary that Ontario Works and Disability Pays is not enough, and to increase that by at least 10 to 13%. But I mean, obviously it didn't go far enough, so let's just keep beating the drum. Let's keep it going, because if this is reaching and that it's already been forgotten about, let's try again. Any other questions to committee before I ask mine? Nope. Okay. So I was just a little curious on is there going to be future breakdowns in future supports, just to see the different numbers between Lennox and Addington and Prince Edward County, just so we can see who's being affected, how different uses.
So, through you, Madam Chair, are you referring to how many individuals are being supported through Ontario Works?
Yeah, just kind of a complete caseload demographics, just so then we can have more understanding and information for where our different municipalities sit at.
So I believe the dashboard that we have has some of those metrics already, where we're able to, I know not every data set is able to be broken out by county specific, but where it can, we are trying to ensure that that's there for you to have those metrics. But if there's something that's missing that you would like to see more of, I'm certainly open to just hear what that is, and seeing if it's something we can provide.
Let me simmer on that, because I know we do have the metrics for the different numbers of like who is on General Ontario Works and who is on general is much more overview. And I guess you bring in just a lot of, and so did Tony, bring in a lot of interesting points on this covers such a broad statement of different uses, different plans, different setups. And I guess just to see where our different municipalities were at, like, and also, sorry, Tony put some thoughts in my head and now I'm just simmering on them, which was specifically like of him saying his municipality and having certain individuals, like, the limb comes down and then they might now be in a situation of need, but that need might be different than, we talked about, like, in some of the reports, I'm not sure if it's this one or in earlier ones or later ones, but that the 14% homelessness is specifically in Picton, but we know that homelessness is throughout the county. It's if people are living in tents, trailers that aren't that are seasonal, but they're living all year round and just jimmy rigging it to make it work, because that's the situation they're in. Like, is Prince Edward County facing more, are we having higher rates of addiction levels right now? Like, I hear there's higher uses of drug use in the high school, but is there, so because to have that breakdown and some of that more descriptive information, I think specifically to our different areas, for me personally would be interesting, because then it's how do we then long-term on our own municipalities funding schemes and plans try and work with our own personal budgets. Like, your organization does lots and that's great and we appreciate it all, but then to hit some of these bigger standing problems, there's going to be planning problems. It's going to be long-term. How do we see health on a little bit more holistic way, especially with doctor shortages, ER times? Like, I don't know does that help? I don't even know if this is too big of an ask.
I can jump in. So, it is a really, really big ask. So the computer system that we use is a provincial system that we're mandated to use for Ontario Works. The province has a much bigger ability to be able to pull data from that. We're not able to run a report and pull data. So we get specific reports that the ministry sends to us every month, which is basically who's on assistance, how much they get, how long have they been on assistance, are they male or female, single, sole support parent, those kinds of things. So it's pretty generic data. We also are not able to break that down by township. So there's a lot of limitations there. Our systems don't collect data in terms of people's actions plans. So how many people receiving Ontario Works have an addiction activity on their action plan? We're not able to pull that out. So we're really limited as to what data it would be nice to have. But some of the things that we've mentioned, it's just because a caseworker has mentioned it to Pam that, here's the situation, here's the scenario, here was the outcome. So it's nice that we have that, but we can't collect that for everybody, unfortunately, because we just don't have the means to do that. We couldn't even tell you how many people on our caseload don't have a family doctor, as an example, because it's not something that we collect, and that's a health thing in terms of the numbers and all that kind of stuff. So we're pretty limited.
No, that's helpful, Lynn. It's sobering, and it's helpful to know your limitations. It's also incredibly depressing to me. Like, this is not. I'm not going to go on a rant to everybody right now on how angry that makes me. But it does, because to me, that's tying your hands from information that can better set long-term health up and long-term. Anyways, sorry, no, I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to rant today. But I do have a question from that. Is Lynn? Oh, never mind, Pam. Lynn, you might want to stay in the links. How is the centralized case coming in? Sorry, words are not working for me right now. How is that working, and have you noticed that it's giving better results, worse results? Is it helping individuals? Is it making it more generic and that people don't feel like it's helping? Just curious on.
Sure. So through you, Madam Chair, currently at the local office, it feels like it's going fairly smoothly. So all the initial eligibility is being determined at the province level, and then we receive the cases once they're granted to do that ongoing case management. It's hard to know if it's working smoothly, because we don't see now who's been deemed ineligible. So we don't actually know who might be out there that was deemed ineligible, unless they come to our office to say, we've been made ineligible. Are there any other supports that you could offer? And we do continue to engage with our community partners to ensure that they are understanding the new process, because I'm sure it probably is a bit difficult for clients to navigate through the new system. But it's hard to say whether it's better or worse yet, because we're still kind of in early days and we're still rolling it out, and the province is still working out some of those kinks as well that we've been identifying.
Thanks, Pam. That's also helpful. And also thank you for reaching out to the community partners in all of our areas. I'm sure that they are definitely some of the frontliners, understand everything that the community is going through, especially in spread out areas like LNA and Prince Edward. Like we said, homelessness doesn't just happen in Napanee or Picton. So it's good to get that information out to all our community partners. And I'm also not going to rant on how frustrating I find that the province won't tell you who was not accepted into the program and why, because all information is good information. So on that note, Doug has any more questions before Doug takes it away to put on the specifically the amendment? Would anyone like to second it? Tony? Yep. Got your hand before Nathan there. And so I see the suggested wording is the social assistance rates have not increased since 2018, despite the fluctuary impacts on the cost of living, whereas ODSP rates have increased by 6.5 in July and 2020 2023 and 4.5 in 2024. Is that some of the suggested wording, or Beth,
Yep.
do you have a better motion?
No, that's good wording.
Oh, that's good.
So there was a draft motion done by staff. And the latter part of it is increase OW rates to match the ODSP rate increases that have already been made and be indexed to inflation, and commit to ongoing cost of living increases above and beyond the rate of inflation to make up for the years they were frozen. So I just wanted to confirm, is that the draft resolution? Is that what we're passing?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted confirmation. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Beth, and that was great wording. So we're all good with that? All in favor of the motion as amended? Yep, I just packed it all into one. Okay, great. Let's go on to number 4. Moving on to 2025 Ontario Childcare and Early Years Funding. Pam, we get to see you again. Thank you for putting on a second hat.
Yes, thank you,
And-
Madam Chair. So this report is just to share the memo that we received from the province identifying some changes in our funding for 2025 from the approved budget amount. And the good news was that there's this new early learning and childcare infrastructure fund that was an agreement between the feds and the Ontario government. And that allows us to have access to capital funding that we did not have access to before, which was really good news. So that was great to see. What also happened, and you saw in the memo, was a space recalibration, which we knew was going to take place. We had to complete a template in October. And really, in order for the province to meet their target of the 86,000 spaces, it was necessary to really get a really realistic view of who can really accomplish what by the end of the 2026. So many municipalities, including Palace, I think there was 27 of them, of us who actually will see a reduced number of space targets, just to make it more achievable and make sure that we're meeting the overall target for that agreement. So our reduction from or our new space target, sorry, for 2024 to 2026 is 226. I have lots of questions around it, so I didn't want to. I wanted to let you know I will bring a full report next time so I can really explain what that, what those numbers are about, because I have been asking questions. The memo came out a day before writing the report, so I hadn't at that time didn't have all the information, and you likely have some questions as well, and I may not have those answers at this time. The one thing I did want to point out, however, on the chart, if you were adding it up, you might have seen that it didn't quite total. So I wanted to clarify something. So in table 1, under the spaces allocated, that is what was allocated, that was brought forth to this committee for 2023 through to 2026. And that only totals 309. The difference is 26 spaces that were already created in 2022, which brings you to the 335 spaces. And those were the 26 that were created in Sophiasburg. So I just wanted, in case somebody was adding that up, saying it's not quite adding up, and I didn't explain that very well in the report, so I apologize for that. So essentially, here's the spaces we allocated, what we actually did create by the end of December of 2023. And then in 2024, we've created 44 spaces, so that those 44 will be part of that new 226 spaces. So that's why it was broken down kind of separately, so you could see that. There are several projects that are in process, including one in Picton and one in Loyalist Township that we'll be able to still proceed with. So, but I will be able to provide you a better report next time on exactly what those space breakdowns will look like and for which counties. And happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thanks, Pam. I really appreciate that precursor to say that there's more information to come. So any questions from committee? Okay. Pam, I do have one off the top of my head, and it's when a school is qualified as like school-based allocation for spaces, is that specifically if there's unused classrooms in the school that can be used for daycare, or what are the parameters set up?
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, if we were to, if there was unused space in a school, we could work with the school board to try to convert those to childcare, and they would be considered a school base. However, the two projects that you see in that table one, the 49 in Amherst and 49 in the Napanee area, those ones were done through a separate process, and it's through the school. The Ministry of Education sends out a request through the school board, and so if the school boards have a capital project that they need to do with the school, so they're expanding or they're have some kind of, they can then add childcare at the same time. So those two projects happen to be tied to those projects, and the funding goes directly to the school board. So it's not really within my purview for when they're like, so I don't know the timelines for when those will be completed and if they will be completed before 2026. So those are some of my questions to see if where those school-based projects fall within our recalibrated targets.
That's really interesting because I had a question just regarding that. Would portables, like, so if a school, I'm going to use the one in Athol for an example, if the school was able to put up portables, or would Pellis be able to in some of the, I know there was for the Athol Town Hall changeover, there was potential that Pellis could have money to help upgrade the building to make it more accessible for children. However, that plan fell through, unfortunately. I was just wondering, would this, like, would schools, if portables basically are an option for the potential of childcare?
So through you, Madam Chair, so it would have to be a childcare operator who applies for the funding. So if, for example, they were able to negotiate with the school board a lease agreement for land and wanted to bring in a modular type building on that would be something we could definitely explore with our startup grant and capital funding that we have. But that would be, the operator would have to bring that forward because it would have to be something that they have, that they're either owning or renting.
Right. So if I could, per se, have Stacy from the hub in Picton, she's our executive director for anybody who's following along, say, yeah, we have the extra workers. That sounds great. I have a good relationship with the school board. Be able to be like, hey, can we lease some land, ideally for no cost because of the need, and because of zoning and other use, and then shared use agreement of like the gymnasium and potential and other things within the school or the library or the playground. But I can't see that being overly, especially if we're looking at just the preschool age children, more than, like, I don't know how much a portable would be acceptable for the infant ages, but preschool age, anything at this point helps. So would you say yes to me trying to use that energy for that, Pam, if there's the potential? Like,
so, Madam Chair, what I would say right now is because I'm still seeking answers on where those spaces are. I would want to see how many spaces we have left available before we continue down other potential projects. I mean, it never hurts to explore what might be, but I couldn't guarantee that there would be spaces or funding available because I'm trying to understand what we currently have in place and how many spaces we actually have remaining.
perfect. Well, if that is coming in the next report, I look forward to it because that would be something I would love to spearhead and get going. Any other questions before we move on? I am seeing none. Okay, so this report is, sorry, as I flip back to the agenda, is just for information. Great. Thank you, Pam, for that. Do I have a mover and seconder for this? Tony and Nathan, all in favor? That carries. And now on to performance metrics. Liam, I believe, there you are.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'd just like to highlight in the report, in the previous committee meeting, we had the request to begin developing a more robust performance metrics application. So I did want to just let committee know that it is currently under development using some of our GIS applications and also in collaboration with PAL staffs to get the relevant information. So this new website will aim at providing committee with greater details on the funding programs and relevant processes across OW, Children's Services, and Housing. So the metrics will include a what's new section, which will provide a quick synopsis and updates on deadlines as it relates to data reported and funding protocols. So to kind of go back previously in the meeting and answer some of your questions, Chair and Councillor Nyman. So the application aims to be a resource for both committee and community to access relevant documentation, information, and like eligibility criteria, deliverables, expenditures, and it will be separated by each individual county where possible. So kind of going back to the questions relating to B&L criteria, we can provide hyperlinks and links on there. So it can be both a committee and a community resource that can be pointed to for relevant metrics and then also relevant kind of eligibility criteria. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee may have.
Committee have any questions? I have no questions this time, but just 2 quick recommendation points, if possible. One, if you are looking for any GIS help or anything like that, I know our team in Prince Edward would love to help you with anything possible. They've been doing really great things. So if you're looking for any GIS help or information sharing or anything, I know our team is more than willing to and extremely enthusiastic about GIS. So just that one point. And the second off is I'm very excited to see where this is going. I think this is fantastic information. This is where everything should be going. So I am so over the moon, thankful, Liam. This is awesome. And also just for resource sharing, that we could have organizations like libraries. I've said it once, I will say it again, libraries are phenomenal resources, especially in very far wide rural, and that you can have somebody in rural LNA library staff be able to be like, you know what, I don't know all the applications, but here is internet access and also the link attached for your application. And also that everywhere in Prince Edward would have that too. That is game changing. It really is. Like, so thank you. Anyone else before I close metrics? Okay, can I have a mover and seconder? Tony. Nathan. All in favor? That carries. Great. I believe then the very last motion is now just to close. So do we need a motion to adjourn or are we all good?
Yes, we do, please.
Doug, I saw your hand jump up on that one. Brad, see a seconder? All in favor? That carries. Thank you so much.